it's exactly making sure that your daughters and your children know that every successful person that they see out there was nervous to get started, and probably still nervous in so many different ways. It just evolves over time, but they do it anyway, despite that. And that's the biggest thing. They don't quit. They don't say, oh, I'm not going to do this just because I'm having these doubts. They're successful because they overcame that and did it anyway.
Hey friends, and welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls, a photographer and educator on a mission to help you find your passion, power, and purpose through entrepreneurship. So let's jump right into today's episode because this girl means business. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Girl Means Business podcast. I'm so excited that you're here this week as we are finishing up the month of May and heading into summer. This last weekend was Memorial Day weekend, which is the unofficial start of summer. And I have to admit something. I have really been struggling lately, and this past weekend was just one more thing that has kind of been weighing on me. And that is the fact that everything looks so different, and it's so hard to get into this excitement over summer and the things that are coming when things look so different than I'm used to seeing them. We usually spend Memorial Day weekend with our friends at the lake or hanging out by the pool or doing something fun, and we just didn't do that this year because of everything going on and the social distancing. And it was tough. It was tough to have kind of this milestone of what should be the beginning of such a really fun time of year, and to have it be kind of also this reminder that things are different and this summer is going to be different. And I've just been struggling with that a little bit, but I can tell you that this podcast is helping me a lot just because it's allowing me to have conversations with other women, to get in front of my computer and have these Zoom calls and see somebody face to face, where typically without this, I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have these opportunities to sit down and talk to these other incredible, amazing women. So while it's been a blessing for me and it's helped me immensely just with my mental state to have these conversations and have this opportunity, my hope is that these conversations are also a chance for you to feel like you are not quite so alone right now, because we're all feeling a little isolated. And I hope that this podcast and anything else you're listening to or being a part of is helping you to feel like you are part of something and not so much by yourself. And so I want to encourage you that if you're enjoying this podcast, or if you have listened to it in the past and you want to hear more, please go join our Facebook group. I'm going to link to it in the show notes, but I want you to join the group because I really want to start building this community of women where we're not just me talking to you through your headphones each week, but we're having actual conversations within the Facebook group, and we can have group chats, and we can do, now that Facebook has these meeting rooms, we can get on and have video conversations. And with the way that our world is right now, everything is so digital and technical, and it's all online. And so as much as I'm craving personal connection and craving interaction with other people, the reality is it's going to have to look a little different than what we're used to. So I want you to take a moment to click the link in the bio down below or in the show notes below and go join the Girl Means Business Facebook group, and let's build a community outside of our headphones, outside of our podcast, and get to know each other and encourage each other and help each other when we have these difficult, rough days, because they're going to keep coming, unfortunately. And I don't know when this is going to end or what normal is going to look like from now on, but I want to be part of that support system that keeps everyone going and keeps everyone's spirits lifted. So head over to the Facebook group, join, say hi, introduce yourself, and let's get to know each other. Speaking of Facebook groups, our guest today manages an amazing Facebook group called Super Moms. It is part of their Give Her Courage brand, and it's a place where moms can gather and share with each other how they are inspiring, encouraging, and uplifting their daughters to create and become change makers. So today I'm chatting with Amy of Give Her Courage. She is one of two founders for the Give Her Courage brand, which is a retail company who has a mission to build courage and confidence within young girls and women all over the world. And I first came across their brand because obviously I'm a mom of daughters. I've got two girls, and I love the message that they are giving. I think that there is so much education for young women that is missing in the world, and that our schools are not providing, and that it is our place as moms to be that for our daughters. And there's so many things that come with being a girl mom and raising daughters. And not to say that there's not that same challenge with boys, but I think that as women, we have an extra responsibility to be these guiding leadership roles for our future young women of the world. And what Amy and her co-founder Kelly are doing with Give Her Courage is incredible. And I'm absolutely in love with their brand. They have some incredible retail products and an even more amazing program for young girls that I plan on putting my oldest daughter in the next year or so, when I feel like she's old enough and ready for the content. So our interview today with Amy, the one half of the founders of Give Her Courage, we are chatting all about sort of how their program came to be and what their philosophy is, along with the tips that she has for raising amazing young women, for raising women, young women who are strong, who are courageous, who can stand up for themselves and advocate for themselves, which is all the things that we want for our daughters to be. So without further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Amy. Hey, Amy, welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself? Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm doing great. I'm super excited to chat with you today. So I want to first dive into your story. So I want to hear about like who you are, what you do, and how your business came to be.
Sure. So I am the co-founder of the Courageous brand. What you'll see it most from the Courageous brand is Give Her Courage. A subset of that, you can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, and our website is givehercourage.com. We are an educational and a retail company, and our mission is focused on instilling courage and confidence in girls, and really, building this whole momentum of women supporting women. So that's a company my partner Kelly and I teamed up. But a little backstory on that. Kelly and I have been friends for a very, very long time. We actually met freshman year in college, which is like 90 years ago at this point now. But Kelly's done very, very well for herself. She has a coaching company. I've been in the corporate world for myself as well too. And a couple, I would say, I don't even know when we had, like 3 years ago now, we came together. She has a 6-year-old daughter and I have 2, but my daughter is 3. And at the time I was pregnant, and we had been brainstorming for a while about, she was initially in the corporate world too, being, doing well in the corporate world, the further you go up, the less women that there are. And that's changing completely. But what our biggest, I would say, kind of qualm was that the reason I got to where I wasn't due to women mentors. I feel like I struggled a lot of with women bosses I've had in my past. It always felt like there couldn't be all of us at the top, the way that I was treated. And I got to where I got because of very great male mentors, to be honest. And Kelly is a similar story. She can always tell her own story. But I just really, we both felt that there was this missing kind of, almost like there was a gap from when women, I guess in my generation, when we were young, there was nothing out there that really built and instilled a foundation of a courage and confidence for girls. Because what I saw from managing many women versus men is there was a huge disparity in women promoting themselves and speaking up at meetings. And I felt like I've always had to help women that I saw talent in see the talent in themselves. We're managing men. It just they got it. They stood up for themselves. They knew their worth. They would say what they wanted. So a lot of it had to do with that. And a lot of it had to do with, just having bad experiences with women in the workplace. And so we thought the problem, how we would solve that problem, is we needed to start at the beginning. So being pregnant with a girl, we both were like, okay, we need to do something for the future of our girls so that when they are in our positions, there isn't this competitiveness. They have this courage, they have this confidence in themselves, they have this self-worth where they're going to be who they want to be, speak up for themselves, but also help other women, send the elevator back down, right? And that was our goal. And so we started with children's books for girls. We have 3. And it just it spun into this whole Courage Academy that we have for girls. Our retail side, we have a Courage collection for both women and girls. And that's how we came to be.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you have been listening to the Girl Means Business podcast for any amount of time, then you know my love of email marketing runs deep. Not only is it a great way to generate new leads, but it's one of the most effective methods for nurturing warm leads and turning them into sales. Now, over the years, I've tested several email platforms, and my favorite by far is Flowdesk. Not only do they make email marketing simple and easy, even for the technically challenged, but they have everything you need to create stunning emails, capture leads, make sales, and automate the entire process, giving you time back in your busy day. And the cherry on top is you're only charged one flat fee no matter how many subscribers you have. So while other platforms will increase your price when you go over your pricing tier limit, Flowdesk has no price increases or hidden fees. If you're ready to give Flowdesk a try, click the link below in the show notes to save 50% off your first year. Let Flowdesk help you design emails people will love. Click the link below and check it out. I have a feeling you're going to love it just as much as I do. That's awesome. This is one of the reasons why I was so excited to chat with you, because having 2 daughters of my own, my oldest being almost 8, I'm starting to see things in her that I hope she doesn't let go of, and it's hard,
Yep.
like you said, and I don't know, I feel like we're around the same age. So we kind of grew up at the same time. And looking back, I was like, there was not a whole lot of support. There was also not a whole lot of role models of who I could look up to.
There wasn't.
Think I want to be that. That's how I should behave in these situations. And so I love what y'all are doing. And I am super excited to kind of get into how exactly y'all help women. I know y'all do interviews as part of your subscription service where y'all have, or your membership, where they can interview other kids their age, or y'all interview other kids their age. I think it's incredible, because it's one thing to show girls as adults, this is what it looks like, but showing them the kids their own age, that's incredible. So tell me a little bit about how that whole idea came about, and just how y'all sort of designed the topics you're going to teach girls about and the things that y'all are going to talk about.
Yeah. So the Courage Academy, it's such a wonderful program. The goal really, it's the first online learning community for girls, where number one now, but where we really teach the tools these girls need to have leadership skills, to have courage and confidence in themselves. And basically in a monthly, it's girls age where your daughter about 8 to 14. We feel this is the best age for this program. Every month we'll start with that. There's a celebrity that comes on, a girl their age. We wanted to do something for mom and daughter. As a mom, it gets tough to navigate some of these things we're dealing with: social media bullying, positive body image, right? These things that, we didn't have social media in our age, and things are different today. And sometimes, as much as we want to be there for them, they need to hear from their peers too, So the first thing we have is a celebrity come on. We've had a bunch of girls come on, either entrepreneurs, which is so great for them to see these girls doing so well. We've had celebrities come on Nickelodeon shows. I mean, for mom, the girls will know all their names, that are Jillian Spader, all these girls, like Walk the Prank. I don't know these shows yet. It's not my world, but I know that, all the girls in the academy know them and can't wait. And they come on live, and we deal with a subject each month, and they get to hear their take from girls who are really doing well in their space: an actress, a humanitarian, a sports star, an entrepreneur. So that's great for these young girls, and they're all in a chat together. They all ask questions. It's such a great bond, and it's great to hear from them. At the same time, we also have we have an expert for mom each month on the topic. So whether it be a licensed psychologist or counselor, or just someone who specializes in that field. So if it's social media bullying, we could say Jillian Spader, she's in Walk the Prank and or Punked or some show on Nickelodeon. She came on, she talked about safe social media or social media bullying. Then we had the psychologist come on during the month, and she talks to mom on how to navigate it with her daughter. And girls will come on with their mom for the expert too, because it really helps open up that conversation, and the girls learn as well. But it helps mom from her side on what she can do. They have a virtual call they do each month, which is adorable. They all come on and they talk about the topic, and they get really comfortable. In today's world, you need to be confident on camera, and they're going to need to continue to be. It's social media, and all businesses on social media. We're doing lives and stuff like that all the time. So they come on, they get comfortable. They talk about the topic. They get to know each other. They're surrounded by positive influences, these girls, because the moms that are putting these girls in the program obviously want better. They want their girls to, rise up, stand out, and achieve their dreams, which is a great thing. We have a leadership certification. So it's a 12-month membership. Each month, Kelly and I teach a topic. It's from how to save money, entrepreneurship versus having a corporate executive career. And then they have little things they do with them. So it really gets them, for instance, the last module on entrepreneurship, if they have an idea for their business, they write down what they want to do and some action items they're going to start taking towards that. So it's really teaching things that you're not going to get in school, which we love. And then, of course, from our Courage collection, the little girl products are adorable, apparel and jewelry and accessories. They get something delivered to the doorstep every month as a reminder.
So amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a great, great program. And then, of course, for everybody, we have on the retail side, we have a Courage collection for moms and adults, women as well.
Yeah, I've already been looking at your online shop. I was like, I need all of these things. Because
Yeah.
again, having my daughter who's just kind of on the verge of getting into all of the age range where I think y'all are kind of targeting that, like, what is it? What age range are y'all targeting with these?
For the young girls in the Courage Academy, it's about 8 to 14.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she's right on the verge of it. And I was actually looking at your site the other day and I was like, oh, I might need to sign her up. I may wait a little while because she's still kind of a young 8-year-old. Like she's just turned 8. And so I'm like, we'll see. But I was reading through all the things that y'all do. And I love that you incorporate for the moms too, because that was my thing. I was like, yes, I want her to get this, things that she's not going to get in school, things that she's not going to get from like watching TV or watching videos necessarily like on YouTube and stuff. But for me as a mom, I'm like, I want to know how to help her through these things too, because it's one thing, like you were talking about the social media bullying, and that's such a foreign thing to me, because again, we didn't have social media growing up. We don't know how to navigate this as a parent, and we don't know what they're facing on their end of it. And so having those resources for parents is great, especially when, there might be one month that y'all have the video with the interview with the celebrity, and you're talking about it and you create this space where kids can ask questions. But then if 6 months or a year down the road, they first actually experience this cyberbullying thing, having the mom being educated on what to do to kind of talk her through it and go over what y'all learned is, I think, a huge key piece. So I love that y'all are doing that.
Yes. No, totally agree. Yeah. So it's great. We have a free group. It's called Super Moms. It's a private Facebook group too, and it's for all moms with daughters. We have experts come on in that group as well, and we talk about all different things. Last night we had a positive mindset coach. She was talking about how to be brave and how to teach your daughters to be brave. So the group is great anyway, if people are interested in joining just that. And then the Courage Academy is obviously paid membership, but you can get a lot from just that group as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'll link to all that stuff in the show notes if anyone wants to check it out. So thank you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about sort of the mom side of things, because I think a lot of women listening are moms, some have young children, young girls. So I know for me, one of my biggest struggles is being a entrepreneur, running a business, and then still trying to be a mom. and finding that balance of, I want my girls to see that I'm working towards something that is important, and I'm working towards something that's, in my opinion, just as valuable as what my husband does outside of the home. And the struggle I'm finding is that I have days where my oldest one's like, well, but nobody else works from home. Are you the only one who works from home? Or, she'll say things like, well, can't you just not work today and come, do this with me or whatever? And so I want her to grow up understanding that what I do is a job, and what I do is I run a business. What are some tips you might have for other moms who are kind of in that same balance of like, how do you establish that and be an example for your daughter without making too hard of a line, I guess?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, photographers, are you ready to make 2024 your best year yet? Growing a business is tough. You're following all the successful photographers and experts, soaking up their best advice and downloading all their free guides, trying to replicate their success only to come up lacking, blaming yourself when their methods don't work for you. But the truth is, it isn't you. Free content and one-size-fits-all courses can only get you so far. What you need is personalized help and guidance, but that can get expensive. Well, not anymore. I've created the perfect solution to get you personalized results for less than $2 a day. Introducing the Focus Photographer Lab, a one-of-a-kind coaching membership that gets you one-on-one results for a fraction of the cost of traditional coaching. Inside the lab, you'll find the 3 C's to success: classes, coaching, and community. With classes, you gain access to a treasure trove of pre-recorded trainings and invaluable resources. With coaching, you get monthly live trainings and Q&A sessions, along with my favorite part, the weekly one-on-one office hours, where we get to address your unique questions and challenges. And then there's the community, where you get to connect with an amazing group of talented female photographers who share your passion, supporting each other and inspiring each other to greatness. The best part is it doesn't come with an expensive one-on-one coaching price tag. You get all of that for just $47 a month. You can even try it for free for 14 days to make sure it's a good fit for you. And there is no contract and no obligation. You can cancel at any time. So what are you waiting for? Head down to the show notes and click the link to learn more and get signed up today. And let's make 2024 our best year yet.
Well, I mean, I don't know when this airs, but everyone will know that right now we're going through something where everybody's working from home. Right. And I think that, first of all, there's going to be a shift after this, no matter what. We're going to get through this, and it's going to be great. And we'll probably be through this by the time that this airs. But virtually, not just virtual learning, which our kids are learning right now at home, but everything that we're going to do in our future and in their future will be virtually, like working remotely. That's just becoming a more common practice right now in corporations. Anyway, I also have a corporate job that I'm in as well. And I work from home, and I have with before I even started, not every day, but some days, before I even started the Courageous brand. So I think what it is tangibly showing her what you're doing. So for you have this amazing podcast that you're getting out, and maybe letting her hear and see some things, see some of I'm sure you're probably doing some of the podcasts. We wrote 3 books. I mean, I'm reading my daughter. We wrote Just Be You, Be Daring Darling, Be Perfectly Imperfect. And they see that I wrote the books, and I show them that. And I did that from home. Right. And they see all the stuff that Kelly and I do a lot, with these interviews and these young girls. Now my son could care less because it's for girls, but he's seeing what it is, right? Because I'm letting him in. I think you have to bring them into it to see. They might not understand when you're doing the grind part, because there's a lot that goes into it, from operationally and stuff that they're not going to get depending on their age. Once they get to a certain age, I think it's actually important for them to see that. But when they're younger, it's hard to explain. But when you can show them at a younger age the result, they'll see what you're doing day to day is working, and it doesn't matter where it is. It's work, right? And I actually think right now more than ever, they're going to see that they have to do their schoolwork from home right now, and they have to do it, and it's work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, mostly just because of the situation I'm in, and I think this is for any mom who has a side hustle. And I truly believe, like, you don't quit your day job. I have a really good corporate career. Unfortunately, because of that, while building this business, I had to make more hours. So I'm working at like 4:30 in the morning on the Courageous brand till 7 when they get up. And when they go to bed at night from 8 to 10, I'm doing it again. So a lot of what in my situation, my kids aren't seeing the grind part yet. I will make sure as they get older, they do, but I do show them the results. Like, I do show them what's going on and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I can see from my son and from my daughter, even already, who's 3, that she's getting wow, mom, this is what mom does, you know? So
Yeah.
if they can see that, maybe not the stress of at a younger age, the operational side, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think I don't know that I do that a whole lot. It's like right now I'm sitting here and recording this, and they're obviously in the other room, I mean, this is not something I necessarily would have them in the room with me on, because they would be a distraction and they'd be in the
Right.
background, but
Wouldn't make
just seeing
sense.
the finished product, or seeing, I don't let them, not that I don't let them, but it's not like I'm playing my own podcast in our car when we're driving somewhere,
But you should.
but I
You
could,
should
yeah,
once in
that's
a
a good
while.
point. And I hadn't
Yes.
thought of that. I just assume when I say like, oh, mom's working, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. Like, or I'll, like, right now, tell them like, hey, I have to go record an interview for the podcast. They're like, oh, okay. But they don't know what that means. And I forget that. And so I like the idea of sort of pulling the curtain back a little bit more and being like, no, this is what I'm doing. Or when my daughter comes in and I'm scheduling social media content, I can say, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is how this works. I think that's a really good idea. I appreciate that. I'm going to start making sure that I
Yeah,
let
and
them
it's
in a
all
little bit
age
more.
appropriate, right? Like
Yeah.
my 3-year-old is going to see the results, and that's great. My 6-year-old still results, but as they get older, they can see you booking that. So they see how hard you're actually, when mom's working, oh, she's really working, right?
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Well,
Totally.
and from the photographer side for me, I think it's cool. Like, my oldest one is getting interested in seeing, like, when I go out and say, I'm going to go shoot a wedding, and I come back the next day and she sees me editing some of the photos. That's one of those ways that I can say, hey, come look at what I did yesterday. Like, come look at the photos I took, and
Yes,
here's how I'm editing
exactly.
them, and here's how I'm doing this. And so I need to be more open to letting her kind of in on some of that process, because she's old enough for some of that to understand it. Now, obviously, my
Totally. Oh,
4-year-old, not all the
yes.
way, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that's such a great idea. So you mentioned sort of in your intro story, something I want to touch on. You talked about how women are really not hard on ourselves, but we have a hard time sort of promoting ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to kind of talk a little bit about that, because you obviously are having to do that with your company that y'all started. And I find that a lot of women I talk to, this is something that they struggle with. And I don't know if it's something that is generational, or it's just we've kind of, personality wise, women are just, wired a little differently. But I find that we all have a really hard time promoting ourselves and talking about our businesses and talking about the things that we're doing and accomplishing, because we always want to downplay them as if they're not as important as they are. So what
Mm-hmm.
advice do you have for women who are kind of downplaying what they're doing right now? And again, looking at like our daughters, like, I want her to see that I'm confident in what I do, but I have to be confident in what I do. And I struggle with
Mm-hmm.
that.
Well, the first thing I would say, and that's why we started this, it all goes, I think it's a generational thing, but I honestly don't think so. I would say with the Courageous brand, we have a lot of interns. So we have a lot of younger employees. With the company, the corporation that I've worked for a long time, it's older. So I wouldn't say there's too much of a disparity in terms of women, that it's changed. I think it's still there. I think the change starts, and it can totally change with us and our age anyway, but it'd be better to start it younger, right? Is the courage and confidence, right? So it starts with being comfortable with yourself, not caring what other people think about you. That's the confidence part, right? Like, you believing in yourself, comfortable with who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, and all, but knowing that you can do it and not worrying what anyone else thinks about you. And that's what women struggle with the most, because we have this whole ideal of being perfect, And if we're not perfect, then we're not going to say it until it's perfect. Men are more likely to say, you know what, I'm not perfect yet, but I'll learn it and I'm going to put myself out there. And the same thing along the same lines. It's that courage. It's like, I'm going to take this risk. I might fall 9 million times, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to push through my fears and I'm going to go for it anyway. Women kind of sit back. Like, this is the psychology behind it, I think. Women kind of sit back and say, oh God, but if I fail, I don't want people to see me fail. That's it. So I'm not going to try. So that's what I think is happening. And that's why we have this whole push. But what you can do is, I think you just start taking little steps each day. So to have, I say this, I've said this and coached this many times in terms of courage. I've seen, I'll give a specific situation where I really believed in a direct report of mine, but she just was never comfortable speaking up at a meeting, sharing her ideas. So the way I worked with her was really just to take little small steps to get there. So instead of giving her idea, which she had fantastic ideas, what I said is just start commenting, just start using your voice at a meeting. You start small, it can be reactive to somebody's point. And then she started doing that. And then I started to see her get a little more out of her shell, a little more comfortable, because it's all about just doing it. That's what it comes down to, just doing it. Right. Yeah. And then she started feeling more comfortable to where she started giving her ideas and her points, and to the point where she was comfortable promoting herself. So I would say for anyone, my suggestion would be, and this is what we teach in the Courage Academy to the girls, just right now, confidence on camera. Don't worry about the words. Don't worry about getting it right. Just go on and do it and be yourself. And you will, over time, you'll develop a habit of confidence in yourself by just going and just doing it. That's what it comes down to.
Well, and this is one of those moments of like, as I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, okay, I need to take my own advice, because I've said that almost exact same thing to other women when it comes to,
but you're not doing it.
But I'm not doing it. I tell people all the time, I'm like, just put yourself out there on social media, talk about yourself, put your stories up. And like this week, I've been putting up stories of the different workouts my girls and I are doing and the different things we're doing around the house together. And it's true. Like, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. But I find myself always turning the camera away from me. Like I will do things with like my girls, or I'll do like a photo of like me walking the dog, but it's just like my hand on the leash. I have a hard time turning that camera around and putting my face on the screen. And right. I need to take that advice myself and just think, the more often you do it, the easier it gets. And it'll eventually become second nature. I think it's just, I look at my girls the other day, they have like one of my old iPhones that they, play games on and stuff. And my youngest one, I was sitting at the kitchen counter and I had my laptop out and I was doing some things and she was playing, and she likes to pull up, actually she was on my phone actually, and she likes to go into like Instagram or Snapchat and just play with the different filters and take pictures of herself.
Yeah.
Well, she started recording videos of herself, and I have this cutest video of her, and it's her recording herself, and she's like, I'm sitting here with my mother. She's recording or she's working on a podcast. So I'm making a podcast too. And she's just talking to the camera about it. She's like, hey guys, how's your day going? I'm like, she's naturally doing these things. My oldest one does the same thing because she's watched so many YouTube videos where people kind of start off going, hey guys, this is so-and-so,
Yeah. There's like a flow, and they know the flow from watching.
Yes. And I was watching them do this the other day, and I was like, I just want to have that same sort of childlike confidence that they have. You feel
like
right
it's almost
now.
like a naiveness, which is because they just go for it. And that's something that you can do, and anyone can do with little practice. So it's almost like reminding yourself when you're doing those videos with your girls, and for anyone out there, that they're watching you, right? So it's just put yourself on, and maybe at first it's for a couple seconds, and then it's for a minute longer, and then you'll, over time, it's almost like riding a bike. Then you get more comfortable with it. At their age, which is great, they don't even know, and they're not thinking all of, unfortunately, what women think. What will people think of me? How do I look? And so that's where, even if you are, you're not a kid and you don't have that, and like you're saying, we're way down the road, the best way to do that is just to start doing it in little steps, and remind yourself who's watching. I think that's the big motivation to make you do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want your daughter seeing, you not facing your fears, not going through them and just doing it anyway, because they're going to come to a point when girls go through that stage, right? Where they're unsure of things, and that's what you want them to see, you doing it, you know?
Well, and I think one of the things I'm trying to get better at, especially with my oldest one, is having these types of conversations with her as well, like talking her through what I'm feeling. And, I would listen to a million different podcasts. And one that I listen to is Dak Shepard's podcast, The Armchair Expert. I don't know if you've ever listened to it, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
he talks a lot about his relationship with his wife. And one of the things that he has said before that I think is really interesting is he's like, kids will overhear parents arguing, but they very rarely will get to see when the parents make up. And he's like, so they make a point that if they kind of ended the day sort of bickering, the very next morning or whenever the next time their kids are around, they make a point to both kind of like apologize to each other and hug and like have that like example of what it looks like to end an argument. And it got me thinking not so much about the marriage from it, but just myself. I'm like, there's so many inner monologues that I have with myself when I do things like putting a video out there or recording an episode for the podcast or worrying about like, how does my voice sound? Did that sound cheesy? Did I sound this way? Did I look that certain way on a video? And I think being able to explain that monologue to her and kind of walk her through like, this is what I was feeling when I posted this video. And it made me a little uncomfortable, but I'm doing it anyway because I'm putting myself out there. I think those are the conversations that need to happen. I need to make sure I'm having those because she's going to eventually have that inner monologue and she needs to know what it looks like to work through that.
Yeah, and it's completely human nature to have self-doubt and be worried and nervous. And it's exactly making sure that your daughters and your children know that every successful person that they see out there was nervous to get started. And probably still nervous in so many different ways. It just evolves over time, but they do it anyway, despite that. And that's the biggest thing. They don't quit. They don't say, oh, I'm not going to do this just because I'm having these doubts. They're successful because they overcame that and did it anyway. It's exactly making sure that your daughters and your children know that every successful person that they see out there was nervous to get started. And probably still nervous in so many different ways. It just evolves over time, but they do it anyway, despite that. And that's the biggest thing. They don't quit. They don't say, oh, I'm not going to do this just because I'm having these doubts. They're successful because they overcame that and did it anyway. Struggle at all.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, I would say the biggest thing for me is and I think this is a hard thing for women, but it's to compartmentalize. And I've really had to learn this as I entered into all these different arenas. I have like I was just telling you, the courageous brand I'm working on. Number one, you got to be motivated if you're doing this stuff, but I'm working on so early and so late. And when I'm in those blocks, I'm not getting up at 5 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning so that because I want to. So I'm not going to sit there and then waste time. So when I am in my blocks, that is what I am doing. So I'm doing all my stuff for Courageous Brand morning and night. Then when I'm in work, I'm in work. But then when I'm with my family, I'm with my family. And I think that is the biggest thing advice I can give to somebody, because we're human and nothing's ever going to fully feel balanced. But I feel like that's as close as you can get, is if you can be present with your family when you're there, and then you can be present in the other, if you have a company or whatever you're doing, you got a company and a side hustle or whatever it might be, in those things when you're in them. And what I think happens is people set times and they're doing their side hustle here, then they have their job here, but they're not fully committed in that time. And so then when they get to family time, they're thinking about all that they left on the table. But if you're actually fully committed and focused on what you're doing in each of your respective areas, then when you're with your family or when you're in that time, you're less likely to be thinking about all the other things because you were doing it. So I would say be very focused in the time that you're given at to whatever that is at that hour or those couple hours, and be present in that. And that's the best, the best advice.
Yeah, that's so good. I think that's so true. One thing I've learned too is that nothing is so important that it can't wait a little while. So when you're with your
It's
family,
true.
those emails that come in or those Facebook posts or messages, like nothing is so dire that it needs your attention that you can't wait an hour or two while you spend time with your family.
100%.
Yeah. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your company with us and sharing your advice with us. So tell people where they can find you, where they can get information, learn more about you.
Sure. So I would say to go see our followers and our group and our messaging and all that type of, we have an IGTV series called Mother Hustlers. Go to Instagram. That's at Give Her Courage. You can go to our website, givehercourage.com, and you can learn more about the retail and the Courage Academy side. And then we also have our Facebook is called the Super Moms Group. You can go, it's a private group. It's for moms with daughters. You can go actually there on Facebook and find us as well.
Awesome. And I say go buy some of your shirts because they're super cute. I'm going to go
Oh,
shopping
thank
later.
you. Good. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Thank you so much to Amy for taking time to chat with me. I know that selfishly, I really enjoyed this interview because I was able to ask a lot of the questions that are personal to my own life with my daughters. But hopefully those of you listening, whether you have girls or even if you have sons, that you have something you took away, something that you are able to do. And one of the things I loved was our conversation around being an example, even in our business. It's so easy for me to want to close the door to my office and get my work done. But as my girls get older and they're more interested in what it is that I'm doing, I need to be opening up the doors a little more and kind of pulling the curtain back and letting them see what it is that I do on a daily basis so that they're not just moms working. They are part of it. They see what the work that goes into it. They see the nerves and the fears, but they also see the success and the reward that comes from putting yourself out there, even when you're anxious, even when you're nervous, even when you're unsure, because that can apply to so many different aspects of their life. And as their mom, I should be modeling that for them. So that was one of my biggest takeaways from this episode. And I hope that you have something similar that you're able to take away and apply into your everyday life. Make sure you go and check out their Supermoms Facebook group. Don't forget to go join the Girl Means Business community on Facebook as well. And I can't wait to see you in there and have more amazing conversations. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I will see you back here next week. Same time, same place.